Hey guys, this is Mac,
And this is Tim.
and we are from Venture Addicts. We're basically a group of college dropouts that currently run a media company that specializes in cinematic video. This is hopefully the first of many videos that teaches a whole host of subjects on the topics of video production to general entrepreneurship, kind of the ups and downs of running a company style things. And I think it'll be a good start to do a video on what separates a $500 video from a $5,000 video, and kind of the odds and ends of how to get from one to the other, the inner workings of each deal. We really wanted to make it because we get DMs every single day on our Instagram from creators as good as us. Maybe they're not as good as, maybe they're better than us, that have never charged money for a video or can only charge a little bit for a video, and they're wondering how to get to the next level.
Right.
Because they've got these insane side hustles that take up most of their time, but all they want to do is create. So it's aimed at the people that have a core competence on video creation. They can make something cinematic, but they don't know how to sell their art.
We've done some videos around the $10,000 mark. So we have a general understanding of, from A to Z when we're putting together a video, a piece of content that someone's going to use either as a commercial or as a branding exercise. We have an understanding of how to take their idea and pack it into something that's ultimately going to drive some sort of business outcome for them. And sometimes that might just be, I really want a nice video.
Yeah, and I think this is a good place to start because we get a lot of questions from really, really good filmmakers and really good creators that are asking, how do you charge for video? Like, not even how do you charge X amount for video, how do you charge for video at all? And, so kind of an ambiguous part of this industry is that you see artists, and this can range from anywhere in art, how you see a painting that looks like you spilled a ton of paint on it that sells for $5 million kind of thing.
It's that modern art look.
Same thing goes for video, and we see a lot in our industry. A lot of people ask us, how do you support a team behind video production? How do you support a company behind video production? Because like I said, there's these struggling freelancers, whatever you want to call them, artists that are incredibly talented, but that are either working a side job, and dream of making a living with their video, with their art.
Yeah, I think a lot of jobs that we've done, there's been like a photographer there that would, just take care of photographer, taking care of pictures. And what's interesting is Mac and I always go up to them and we say, is this like your only hustle? Is this what you do? And a lot of them say, no, I've got a job doing X, Y, and Z. And I think it's really, really telling because either they're somehow not making enough revenue from doing their craft. And I think this is an attempt of us trying to say, hey, look, here are a couple reasons why you can not make the kind of money that you need to survive to where you can make the money that you need to survive. And a lot of times, some of the stuff is a little bit counterintuitive, and I think we're about to go into that right now.
Yeah, so to tie back to the title of the video, we really had the idea to the difference between a $500 video and a $5,000 video, in some things that you can do as an artist, as a creator, to get what your video is worth. So to add some context, just like Tim said, we've done a ton of videos for free early on, and our top projects have been around the $10,000 mark. So and then everything in between. It doesn't mean every project we do now is in the $10,000 mark. I think that's important to hit on. Go ahead. What are you about to say?
Not every video that we do is in the $10,000 mark.
Yeah. Disclaimer. Just because we have an understanding of that gamut, I think we kind of want to offer the insight on what the inner workings of each level of that project looks like, right, from a back-end selling business standpoint, and what warrants that cost kind of thing. I kind of wanted to knock out some myths and some facts beforehand, just to kind of lay some ground rules.
Yeah, let's do it.
And that was, like, I think you were going into it, is like, the more expensive the camera does not necessarily mean the more expensive the video. We've met people with Reds that do videos for less than us, and with the same cameras that do videos more than us. As long as you're not shooting on a GoPro, a cell phone, As long as you can get a basic camera that does slightly cinematic video and you're decent at editing, you can put something together cohesively that tells a story.
I mean, we're talking like Canon Rebel, like T6i.
Yeah.
Like kit lens, dude.
Sony A7R III is a good one. Panasonic GH5. Canon 5D. You know, these cameras that aren't, you know, 8,000 plus that create cinematic video and warrant a pricey video. So I wanted to lay those out. So, you know, you didn't think when you said, you know, the more expensive equipment doesn't necessarily mean the more expensive video. I don't want that to mean like, oh, I can just grab my cell phone and then charge $7,000 for a video.
I wouldn't do that, because if someone's giving you money and you show up with an iPhone, I don't think you're going to have that job for very long. You always talk to creators and they're like, man, I've got the best gear. Or someone wants to start making videos and they're like, I got to get the best lenses. I got to get the best gear. I got to have everything that's amazing. And that just isn't the case.
And also another fact is that it's going to take time. You're not going to jump into the 10 grand videos. We did a lot of free videos up front that led to the relationships that led to those pricey videos. So keep that in mind too. The tips in this video are going to lay the groundwork for achieving that pricey video, but they're not necessarily going to warrant the next pitch you give to pay you $5,000 for the video kind of thing.
Right. I think a lot of times we also sometimes devalue ourselves. And I know, and I might be hopping around here, but I think this is an important aspect is you have to make sure that you value your own time and the time of anybody else that you work with, right? And so when you're putting together a proposal, a lot of times Mac and I will look at each other and we'll say, okay, this is what we think the video should be. And then we'll ask ourselves, okay, so why can't it be $1,000 more? Why can't it be $500 more? And a lot of times there's no actual good answer for why it can't be. And it's not about extorting. It's not about just trying to jack the price for no reason. It's making sure that every time that you go out and you put your best foot forward from a content perspective, you're providing value and your client is now providing you value in the form of money, in the form of payment.
No, I think that's a big one. A lot of guys, and I think you're hitting on it right, you're hitting the nail on the head there. A lot of guys that contact us at DM us via Venture Addicts on Instagram will say, how do you charge for video? You know, how, you know, I'll give a ball, they'll ask, you know, what's the ballpark you charge for video? I'll give them the ballpark and they're like, no way. I've never seen that amount of money in my life. But I'll look at one of their videos and they blow ours away in a lot of cases. And you can tell that that they've been doing this for a while. They're both good on the camera. They're good post editing. And I look at their videos and like mentally, you know, once you know, we've been doing video long enough now and supporting ourselves with our business that we can kind of look at a video and say, you know, we would charge this much for video, right? I mean, when you say that. Yeah. So like you kind of do the same thing with other people's videos. You'll look at their video and they're like, wow, they could have charged $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. And then they'll respond to you and say, whoa, how are you? The most I've ever charged is $250.
Yeah.
For a video. And you're like, and you kind of feel bad for them because you know that they have the talent to make that video a $5,000 video.
And you're hitting it with the talent aspect, but there's another aspect of you being a freelancer, which is you're actually having to run yourself as a business, right? And if you're not maximizing the money that you can get in, you're leaving money on the table. And sometimes that works okay because you want to have a longer lasting relationship, but sometimes you're just leaving money on the table for no reason. And so I think consistently being able to say, am I really delivering value? Question number one. And then am I actually, from a business perspective, running myself efficiently and not leaving money on the table is big. And look, I mean, you could, if you want to learn how to price your video out, just say, okay, I'm gonna charge the person to shoot their video $50 an hour just to shoot and $75 to edit. How long do you think it's gonna take? Maybe add a little margin to make sure that you're actually making some profit on it. Okay, there's a good start. But the principle there is how much do you actually charge per hour? And that's something that you're going to have to start understanding, how much is your time worth? And I think it comes with experience as well.
Yeah. So let's to simplify things, let's go into 3 tips that you can start implementing to turn a $500 video into a $5,000 video. So the first question that I would ask yourself, and I want you to weigh on this in on this too, is how much are you actually doing for the client? How much are you helping them with the process of creating this vision? Is there going to be an extra cameraman involved? Does a script need to be written? Do you need outside talent? Do you need, actors? How much, if the client wants to get from A to Z, how much of that A to Z process are you going to handle as the videographer?
Right. It's not just about picking up the camera, showing up to the shoot, and then flipping the record switch, right? That's some videos that might be true, and other videos that's not true. And you really, the inception of that process starts when you first make contact with a client. When you sit down with them and you say, okay, tell me about the kind of video that what are we trying to say with this video? And through that conversation, you're going to figure out how much they actually know about what they want from the video and how much they have no idea. They're just like, I need a video and it needs to kind of do X, Y, and Z. And I'm giving you all the creative power to be able to come up with that. That takes a lot of management. That takes time outside of actually shooting or editing to actually come up with, how am I going to tell a compelling story about, I don't know, a toothbrush? How am I going to tell a compelling story about something that I'm not close to? It takes a lot of research, takes a lot of conversation with that client. And right there, that's time spent. You can essentially charge for that time spent whenever you're coming together and actually putting together a proposal for the video.
No, I agree. That's good. If a client says, this is my vision for a video, and this is what I want it to tell my customers, if you can then take that and say, I got you,
right?
Through your actions, of course. And then at the end of the shoot, at the end of the video, at the end of post, they see that vision and the reality, and all of a sudden they realize, I didn't do anything but tell them what I wanted, the story I wanted to tell. If you as the videographer can then write the script, hire the talent, take care of the directing of that story, I mean, literally that warrants a double the price increase, honestly.
Right. No, I think Mac's totally right. And remember, there's two school of thoughts here, kind of, but one of which is you go in, you capture, and you figure out what the story is going to be when you're editing. Another is you figure out what the story is going to be, you storyboard it, you know exactly what you're going in and shooting. You actually have some sort of a direction, okay, I'm framing this scene exactly like this, and this is the way it has to flow into the next scene. And then you're going to go into the editing room. Those are two completely separate things. You have to really, really understand from the inception of this idea of this is the way it's going to be scripted, this is the way it's going to be shot. And just with that upfront work, that's an extra charge.
So the second thing you can ask yourself, that's not only going to increase the price of each individual job you do, but just increase the average price of the overall jobs that you're getting on a regular basis. And that's asking yourself, what kind of clients are you focusing on? In what kind of clients are you pitching to on a regular basis? I think it's a given, but it definitely needs to be touched on, is they need to have the cash flow to support the video needs that you're talking. I mean, you need to find businesses and people that have the cash flow that's going to warrant the video need.
And sometimes it's not even about the cash flow. Sometimes about how deeply they actually want something of quality. We've had conversations with people and they're like, well, why are you charging X when I know I could go down the street and go get something for $150? And we're like, you're 100% right. You can go down the street and get something for $150, but it's are you willing to actually invest into a piece of content that's going to live and that's going to serve your purposes much more than just a $150 piece of content?
So I think a good way to start with that, and we've done this too, I mean, we've had this conversation too, is before, say you've done enough video, you've got a decent portfolio, internally say, this is the lowest budget that I'm going to work with. And let's just call it $1,000 for the sake of time. Initially you're going to lose some jobs. If you walk into a meeting saying the lowest price I'm going to take is $1,000, and then you pitch that, or you pitch a higher price, you're like $2,000, but internally, the lowest you're going to take is $1,000, you're going to miss those jobs from the people that are thinking $500 for the video that they need. And that's okay, because you're going to miss those jobs up front, but ultimately you're going to be better at pitching the $2,000 as a project because you have the experience of asking for that much money, and then naturally the jobs for that much are going to come.
And you just skirted a really, really interesting point, which is you're going to have the experience of asking for that much money. Asking for money at first is freaking scary because you don't want to be turned down, because it's not only you being turned down, it's your work being turned down. It's somebody thinking, how dare you have the audacity to charge something extraordinary like, I don't know, $1,500 for a video. And what you have to understand is most of the time, that's not at all what's going through clients' heads. Sometimes it's clearly just a budget thing of just, what am I going to get for the video, and am I going to get the value that I'm paying for? A lot of times we're our own worst enemy when it comes to what should the price be. There have been times where we've quoted a price and we've done a job, and it turns out that we've actually completely undersold the price of the thing, and they've actually told us, hey, this is something that we probably would have paid a little bit more for. And we've heard this from different entrepreneurs in different industries. We had one of our very, very good friends and mentors told us that back in the day when he was charging for his services, that a client actually said, I'm not going to pay you that. I'm actually going to give you more money, because that price is a direct representation of the value that I'm going to get. And at that price, that's not the value. That's not the type of work that I need. That's not the work ethic that I need. I need something at this caliber, so therefore I'm going to pay you this.
If I were to give one quote to take away from this point, it's do not say no for the other person. And then the second to that is set your standards. The second to that is set the minimum standards that you're willing to work for. You're going to lose the upfront jobs. You might slow down for 2 months, but you realize that at that third month, you're going to be used to asking for more money. You're going to be used to that rejection. And then you're just going to keep moving forward. As long as you stick with it, the more expensive jobs will come.
And to slightly reword the don't say no for the other person, it is, oh no, I don't think they'd pay that for this video.
Yeah.
That's the saying no for somebody else. It's much better for you to present for what you believe a fair price is for that. And even if that's outside of your comfort zone, than for you to just automatically say no to something that you've got no idea about what they might be feeling, what they might be looking, what their budget is. It's purely based on the value of the content that you're bringing. And another thing is, sometimes you can price based off of your time, but you can also price based off of value, and it's called value pricing. If somebody's going to use this video to run ads and they're going to make $20,000 because they use this video to run ads, why would you charge $500 for the video?
That goes into my next point.
Segues.
Read the next point.
Okay. Next point. What is this video being used for? Take it.
No, you take it.
Okay.
No, you had it.
All right. If the client is going to make, $20,000 from this video, and you charge them $500, you're not pricing the asset, because remember, this video is an asset. It's actually going to be used to create more capital. If you're not pricing that correctly, you're just flat out devaluing the asset that you just gave. Price is the number one indicator of value, and the number one indicator of how good something is going to be and if it's going to actually work.
I'll bring that kind of to a personal front with us. When we started, we started the media company. We all had jobs at the time, or were in school. So we all had, this was kind of a side thing that we all came together, and eventually we all went all in, and now it supports our lives. But when we started, some of the first videos we did were Instagram 30-second spots. And it was, if you watched our other videos, which I think you should, for car dealerships, that was a big one.
Even like fitness friends, right? It would just be like, hey, can you film me just like in the park? And we'd be like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah. Instagram influencers, car dealerships, small businesses that didn't really have the budget for big video, but it was really easy to get, because who doesn't need video? Who doesn't want cool videos on their Instagram? So it was easy, small jobs, kind of like the title of this video says, $250 to $500 was kind of the sweet spot. And we were kind of, anytime we thought that it needed to get more expensive, we kind of fell into the trap of saying no for the other person. But we kind of thought, there's no way video could get more expensive. We were kind of feeling terrible in that front, and we're looking for other means of income. But there's nothing wrong with Instagram videos, but what happens if an Instagram video is bad? Not much. You delete it. It's fine. So when you ask yourself the question of what are they using it for, if you up the ante for the, like, if the best thing were to happen for this video, say they get a ton of new business, say it's being used, like he said, for a Facebook ad, or maybe even down the line, a TV ad, up the ante for the results of this video, and the price will directly go up alongside it.
Yep. No, I mean, I think you're right. I think you have your first principle of, okay, where is it going to be? If it's just going to be a home video, no one's gonna accept a charge of $2,000 to make a home video, right? Unless they really care. If it's going to be on a Facebook ad, there's going to be a certain level of which someone's going to pay for that. If it's going to be on TV, first of all, it's going to be on TV. Like we're talking about thousands of people. You're talking about it has to look almost perfect. When you see a what is it, the general for the insurance company, and it looks like an absolute just shithole of a commercial.
I love those commercials.
Yeah, I know the commercials are fine, but let's be real, the
animation, cinematic masterpieces.
But my thing is if it's going to be on TV and you're going to want something that's going to represent a brand, it's going to need to be high quality, and that all also depends on where is it going to be distributed on. So
kind of how to approach a client with that point is, say, ask them question you're asking yourself. What are you using this video for? Oh, I was just going to put it on Instagram. Why don't we run a Facebook ad with it? This could be the ROI of your video. I want to drive more customers for you. I want to generate you more money. If you're generating the customer more money, if you're generating the client more money, that warrants a higher price of video. So if you're doing a $500 Instagram video, if you kind of reword that, upsell them to, okay, why don't we run a Facebook ad with this video? The video is going to be $1,000, doubles the price of the video, and that could generate them business. And you have to verbalize that in the initial meeting. This is my budget for the video, $1,000. However, this video could produce you $5,000 of new business. Right. That's a whole different conversation than
5x ROI.
That's a whole different conversation than the video is going to look good on Instagram and somebody might like it.
Right. And all of this pricing conversation is great, but you have to remember one thing is that you always need to deliver. The number one thing that will make you feel like shit and will also make the other person feel like shit is if you've agreed on a price and you've been able to articulate what you think this video is going to look like, and then you come back and that video doesn't look like what that client thought it was going to look like. It is not a fun time to have to then deal with that person. And I don't mean to deal with that person as a negative connotation, because it's your job as the person who's providing the value of the video to provide customer service. And I think that's another point, number 4 here, that we can add here is how much actual customer service are you going to provide for that person? And that includes when someone asks you, hey, can you cut me a quick 30 seconds of X, Y, and Z? Is that going to be an extra charge? Is that something that you've already kind of put into the agreement? When someone just asks you, hey, what are you thinking about this idea for the video? And it might be slightly different than what you thought about before. Every time you pick up the phone, every time you write an email, that's customer service. And that right there is, I think, what separates a lot of freelancers from a lot of other freelancers and freelancers from businesses as well, is that you have to strive for really, really excellent customer service, because ultimately that's the real value, is clients coming back to you and saying, yeah, you treated me really, really well, and I want to continue to work for you.
No, that's true. So to kind of wrap up those points, the main things, or three key principles that are going to take you from $500 to $5,000 eventually, is how much of the process are you going to handle in this video creation? Are you going to get them from A to Z without them lifting a finger except to grab their wallet and pay you?
Right.
What kind of clients are you focusing on? Is it the tiny businesses that they're barely scraping by, living paycheck to paycheck? Or is it going to be the medium-sized businesses like the orthopedic surgeons, like the chiropractors, like the higher-end car dealerships that you can tell they sell an expensive enough service that warrants the cash flow for video?
Correct.
3, what is that video being used for? Is it going to be an Instagram timeline post that looks cool and gets a few extra likes? Or is it going to be an anteed up video that's going to generate them an ROI?
By the way, ROI, for someone that might not necessarily be keyed in on business terms, that's return on investment. So the investment made into a video, what is your actual return on that? that's just a very, very simple, either could be a percentage, or even if you could 10x someone's return, you know, you made them a video for $1,000, they got $10,000 from it. That's a 10x return. I mean, people should be high-fiving you and hugging you if that happened.
So basically, this video, I just want to share some personal experience from all the messages that we get from extremely talented creators that could be making a full-time living with their art, but message us and say, how do you make $1,000 a video? Like it's a foreign concept to them. So it's just a way for these good creators to know how to sell their art and make a living with it.
Right. And this is a relatively large concept. You know, this is something that you're not just going to get, you know, the first time you go out. This is not something that, you know, comes very, very easily to a lot of people. So if we've missed something that you've got a specific question about, please make sure that you leave a comment below. And if you've got any questions around this, you know, we'd love to be able to reach out and answer them, and, you know, just hopefully help you guys out, because we were once exactly where you were. And it's almost like you have this light bulb moment and you're like, oh, wow, I can actually really provide true value and actually get paid for that value. And now you're not having to stress about having a job and then scheduling shoots around that job and then worrying about how to pay for bills.
Bills, huh?
Dollar bills, y'all.
And follow Venture Addicts on Instagram. DM me if you're watching this video. I answer every single one. It's ran by me, Tim, and Jacob over there. Samantha helps out sometimes.
Can't see her. She's not here.
We have a lot of support on this video.
Yeah, for sure.
It's studio quality. But yeah, DM me. I answer everything.
All right. Hope you guys have a good night.